Mr. President, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle chimed in on the U.S. election and essentially encouraged people to vote for Joe Biden. I want to get your reaction to that.
I'm not a fan of hers. And I would say this, and she probably has heard that, but I wish a lot of luck to Harry, because he's going to need it.
Recently, I came across this Evolv company that is partially funded by Bill Gates and how it's getting ready to go public using an SPAC, which is a way to get around having to do a public offering, but we're not a financial channel today. We're not going to get into that. Bill Gates is using his money to help this company go public and essentially grow. He wants to scale this company's product the same way he scaled vaccinations, and it just really leaves one sitting back wondering about his ownership and control of Microsoft and what effect that had on our lives in the 90s and in the 2000s, and then the fact that he's buying up all the farmland now, and he owns a lot of the vaccine production facilities, and he owns the institutions, the government institutions around all of these things that he owns in. And so now, as he moves into Evolv and what they call human security, or essentially what he wants to do is replace the system that scans humans as they walk into and out of places, whether that be railroads or airplanes. But I saw that this was happening at a time where I happened to be doing research on something called emotion recognition technology. And emotion recognition technology has gotten so good in the US and in China that it's almost 99.9% accurate. They say it's more accurate than an average person. And so what are they suggesting? Well, they want people's faces read as they go through toll booths so that they could get potential people who have drugs on them because they could see that they're nervous. They want people pulled aside in venues and at airports because they have sweat or because they look like they might be carrying something illegal. This is already being done in China, and it's on its way here. But the interesting thing I found about looking into Evolv is that Bill Gates' company, while it is the forefront in how to scan you with various sensors and determine various things about you without your permission, it doesn't mention emotional recognition technology. So I want to go through some of just the promo videos that Evolv does, and I'm going to stop at one point and I'm going to show you specifically what I'm talking about, that they have the hardware and the software to do the emotion recognition technology, but they're not talking about it specifically. And I think that there's a pretty obvious and pretty scary reason why they're not talking about it. All right, so let's look at some of these videos.
In this era of viral violence, there's a mass vulnerability problem. Yet we're screening for today's threats with yesterday's technology, forcing venues to choose between visitor safety and experience. What if visitors and employees could walk through while simultaneously being screened for potential threats? They can with Evolv Express, the first of its kind free-flow weapons detection system. It screens 3,600 people per hour, more than 10 times faster than traditional metal detectors, providing labor cost savings of up to 70% and an unparalleled visitor experience. Express uses the power of AI to instantly differentiate personal items from threats, making it easy for guards and frictionless for visitors. When a threat is identified, Express provides a real-time image of its location. And by adding Evolv Pinpoint, the venues can easily identify persons of interest.
This is the part that I'm talking about, Evolv Pinpoint. Now, there's a bunch of different ways that Evolv Pinpoint is described as you go through the website at Evolv or whether you go through their demo videos. And it's always described as a facial recognition system. So a system that can analyze people's faces, compare it to a database of known felons or people you don't want into your establishment, and let you know when said person comes in. However, the thing that they don't say is that this exact technology is the exact technology that you need for emotional recognition technology. This emotional recognition technology is a much more invasive procedure that scans every single person coming into the venue as if they're a possible target and uses sensors to determine basically what that person is feeling in that moment without their permission. They're leaving this acknowledgement that they have the ability to do this out of all of these advertisements. And I think that that is a little bit shisty, especially when I'm going to take you through what it is to have an emotional recognition technology and what you can do with it.
The future of venue security is seamless integration, fully connected, and get smarter over time. Finally, venues can stop threats while assuring a welcoming visitor and employee experience. Experience Evolv Express.
What you see every day is the people that tell you to take your shoes off and take your belt off and put your hands over your head. I think it's unavoidable until we can somehow come up with a technology that you can just walk through and is perfect.
This is the Evolv Edge, which scans for explosives and high-capacity guns. This high-tech scanner considers ways to improve security system-wide.
I felt 10 times better.
If nothing suspicious is found, there's a green light. But when an employee goes through with metal in his backpack, a red light. And the agent can see pictures showing where the suspicious item is.
That's smart.
So this one company, Evolv Technology, is going to replace and revolutionize every place you've ever had to wait to go into, whether it be courthouses. And then they're going to do it to extend it onto softer targets because it'll be less expensive, more affordable, easily mobile. So you'll see it at movie theaters. You'll see it before you go swimming in the swimming pool. You'll see it everywhere. This technology is getting ready to be everywhere, and it's getting ready to all be provided by this company, Evolv Technology, which is getting ready to do what is essentially a public offering soon, even though it's not technically a public offering. It will be available on the stock market, heavily backed by Bill Gates, and set to revolutionize the way that they spy on people in large numbers inside of large gatherings. So the fact that they've developed a sensor that can automatically check your temperature as you walk through, or the fact that they can determine whether you have anything on you that could possibly be a weapon, whether it be metal or not, all these things, they're not what bothers me. Although it should be concerning to the average individual. We should want to be finding out just what sensors are in there, just how exactly are these sensors scanning me. They say they use small millimeter-sized waves at a low voltage and that you have nothing to worry about. Okay. Well, all I know is they can check your body temperature in 2 seconds as you walk across it while they're testing to see what's on your person. It's just, when new technology comes out like this, it always gets my antenna up. And whenever I cross-reference this with what I was already working on, which is called emotional recognition technology, I think you guys are going to be kind of flabbergasted. So I showed you how they had, quote, facial recognition technology on both of these Evolv systems. Well, let's go look at what emotion recognition technology is, and then we'll bring it back around. And we got a lot to cover, but first let's just take care of this article that started my entire dive. And this is an article with the Global Times, which, in case you didn't know, is basically Chinese state-run media. So much like the New York Times, whenever you see an article come out in the Global Times, it's very much what the Chinese government is wanting to tell the rest of the world. China leads in emotion recognition tech, reinforces privacy rules to tackle abuse, which, of course, China is not reinforcing privacy rules to tackle abuse. That is just because this is Chinese state-run media. Tired and depressed after a long day's work, a man sits down and asks his smart stereo to play a song. The stereo immediately recognizes his emotional state and plays him a cheerful tune. In the beautiful melody, the man is slowly rejuvenated, and his mood gradually improves. Conversely, at a busy highway checkpoint, artificial intelligence pre-warning systems silently observe drivers and passengers in vehicles passing through. Seconds later, security security officers stop a car with passengers looking strangely nervous and discover drugs in the car. These scenes, reminiscent of science fiction, are on the increase in day-to-day life. In China, emotion recognition technology is fast developing in this data and AI era boom, and has been widely used in various fields including health, anti-terrorism, and urban security, industry insiders told the Global Times. Currently, the AI emotion recognition tech is still led by the US, but its practical uses are already blossoming in China. So let's think about that. Once again, we have technology that's being pioneered in the United States. However, it's not able to be used the way the tech oligarchs want to use it in the United States, so they invent the tech and send it over to China so that it can be applied. And applied it is. Neuromanagement experts believe that China's application of this tech is also unrivaled globally, and perhaps more advanced than the US in non-military fields thanks to efforts by many domestic tech startups and related research institutes. Emotion recognition is definitely the direction of humanity's future tech development, and that is an absolute true statement. And one thing I would put on that is whether we want it to be or not. Generally, emotion recognition technology in China has reached high precision in its uses. Products based on AI emotion recognition can achieve an average comprehensive accuracy of 70 to 95%. Wei revealed that the EmoKit system developed by his company can accurately combine signals from video, audio, body sensors, and perform multi-frequency overlay analysis. And that is exactly what started this whole episode off when we were talking about Evolv and the sensors that they're using to determine whether or not somebody's carrying a weapon, explosives, and or check their temperature. This is the exact same technology, the exact same application, and it's just left out of the Evolv examples. In a clinical project in partnership with a renowned psychiatric hospital in Beijing, for instance, EmoKit has achieved a combined computerized accuracy of 78.8% for the identification of schizophrenia, approaching the standard of clinical testing performance. The system's accuracy in diagnosing depression by merely listening to a patient's voice is nearly 70%. Earlier in 2018, tech firm Alpha Eye surprised the public by showing the pinpoint accuracy of its emotion recognition technology. It sounds inconceivable to many that human emotions can be accurately recognized by some machines and programs that have no innate emotional intelligence. Ma explained that there are two main methods for emotion recognition at present: a non-contact one by observing human facial expressions and behaviors, and a contact one by a subject wearing a device on the head and having the brainwaves being monitored. The former one is more practical, and the latter one is more precise. So the former one is what they'll use on massive crowds, and the latter one is what they'll use when they have a single individual that they want to sit down and force to tell the truth. Either method is superior to manual recognition, which inevitably involves people's subjective judgments. But of course, interpreting the software is also up to subjective judgments. This is the same argument that comes out every time there's a new and scarier technology, that it's going to help us in all these different ways. The current AI technology is able to capture physiological indicators that people cannot control, such as their subtle muscle tremors, heart rates, and blood pressure changes. That makes the recognition process more accurate and objective. Really. And that's what the dash would look like. With relatively high accuracy, emotion recognition technology has been used in various walks of life, from detecting possible mental illness to interrogating criminal suspects. Most overseas research teams are still focused on recognizing emotional outcomes such as happiness and sadness, but Chinese companies are breaking through the application fields of this technology by further analyzing the motivation behind people's emotions. In terms of road safety, the technology is expected to give early warnings before drivers have abnormal behaviors by monitoring their physical and psychological indicators. And I would assume these would be from cameras inside of vehicles, mandated. Xi's company developed a driver biometric system which captures a driver's expressions, micro-movements, and physiological characteristics through a camera mounted on the dashboard in front of the driver, and then analyzes his or her emotional and physiological reactions, such as drowsiness and psychological tension levels, through deep learning algorithms. She mentioned an accident in which a bus driver in southwest China's province intentionally crashed the bus into a local reservoir in 2020, which killed 21. More tragedies like this will be prevented from happening if we put emotion recognition tech into monitoring drivers' real-time status. And as usual, they always are throwing up some horrible tragedy that this new technology is going to prevent from happening. which it won't prevent from happening. Back in China, emotion recognition has contributed to the risk assessment of prisoners in a few regional prisons. In 2019, the Criminal Psychology Research Center under China University of Political Science and Law worked with a prison in putting the non-contact emotion recognition tech into use in prison settings for the first time. The technology helps prison officers to evaluate whether a prisoner presents potential risks, including possible mental problems and violent or suicidal tendencies, and estimate whether he or she is likely to repeat an offense after release. And you know, guys, on this channel, we're constantly talking about the dangers of pre-crime. And this is pre-crime, guys. This is pre-crime. After a prisoner looks at the camera for 3 to 4 seconds, this recognition system can know his or her 7 main physiological indices, including body temperature, eye movement, and heart rate, and convert them into physiological signs showing whether the prisoner is calm, depressed, angry, or whatever else at that time. This technology is the most advanced in the world. At present, there are 5 or 6 prisons in China where this technology is in use, he added. In the Western world, emotion recognition is mainly used in medical care and public security, and researchers from developed countries, including the US, Germany, and Japan, are also working on its tech development. This fast-growing technology had created a $20 billion industry globally. The mushrooming emotion recognition industry has also sparked controversy around the world on private protection. Some people are uncomfortable with their emotions being captured and read by AI technology, worrying about possible abuse and the leakage of personal information. You don't say. Similar to the facial recognition information, the leakage of emotional information may trigger a series of negative effects that threaten people's personal and property safety. Corresponding laws, therefore, must keep pace with the development of new technologies. China's legal system, including its first ever civil code and the Personal Information Protection Law of China, tries to improve citizens' privacy through regulating the collection and disclosure of personal information. Authorities should also strengthen supervision and let the management run ahead of the technological development. Right. In terms of customer privacy protection, Wei pointed that all the service provided by EmoKit Tech are based on the authorization of the clientele, ensuring that users are informed. All our partners are legitimate companies and organizations, and the applications we jointly developed are legally compliant and in line with internationally accepted technical ethics. Remember that the government in China is already doing on a large scale what the United States is doing, and that is using private companies and corporations as their proxy because they need them to do something that the federal government isn't allowed to do. And that's what's going on here in China. And over here, the New York Post has it on the 4th of March, 2021. China has been ramping up surveillance known as emotion recognition technology in order to monitor human feelings and help them with law enforcement, according to reports. Emotion recognition technology tracks traits such as facial muscle movements, vocal tone, and body movements in order to infer a person's feelings. Infer is a pretty big word there, right? Emotion recognition is definitely the direction of humanity's future tech development. Really? For example, the artificial intelligence system can monitor occupants of cars passing through a busy intersection. Security officers then might stop a vehicle in which a passenger appeared nervous to search the vehicle for drugs. Chen Wei also said that the tool has the capability to predict dangerous behavior from prisoners. We also read that. School students and the elderly. Wow! Ordinary people here in China aren't happy about this technology, but they have no choice. And this is a huge point right here, because I've read about 5 or 6 different stories regarding this. They all came out around the same time. You know how the media does. And almost to a point, every single one of them contained this quote: ordinary people here in China aren't happy about this technology, but they have no choice. Why? I'll tell you why. Because we allowed all the cameras to show up, and we allowed them into every corner of our world. And unfortunately, this emotion recognition technology has nothing to do with hardware, has nothing to do with installing computers or installing cameras, nothing. All it has to do with is software that is going to be run over top of the video feeds that we've already allowed to be created. So they're not happy, the public isn't happy, but there's nothing they can do about it except try to get a law passed that the government is not allowed to use these emotional recognition pieces of software while they're running on their video feeds, which is not ever going to happen. Even if there was a law that was passed, they would still be doing it clandestine. So this is the dry run for America happening in China, and the way they're doing it is they first saturated China with so many cameras that it made no sense, and now they're running emotion recognition technology on all those cameras, and there's nothing anybody can do to stop it. So look for that to be the method here in the United States. They also talk about how just the fact that the system's there, it modifies behavior in prisoners and people that they've used it on, which is an obvious benefit for the state, right? And dear Lord, we have got to get this stuff under control, because I've made a bunch of episodes about the apps, how they're going to be using the tracking apps over the CV, but now that we have emotion recognition software, just think about this. When the CV hit, everybody who was on probation and parole, they had to stop coming in to visit their probation officer or their PO, right? They probably did mostly phone calls. But of course, there were also apps waiting in the wing to be created. And so, you may or may not know this, but most parole and probation in the country is no longer meeting in person, or at least meeting in person very rarely. They're not using the ankle monitoring devices anymore either, because they have apps now that the parolee or the probationee downloads the app and is subject to the whims of their probation officer and the subject to the whims of this app. Now, if this app is in existence and they combine it with emotion recognition technology, let's just read a little bit about this and see what they have to say. Shadow Track is one of an array of apps that, boosted by the CV pandemic, are increasingly being used in state criminal justice systems and federal immigration courts to track people while they await trial or on probation or parole. They are easier to install than GPS ankle bracelets, come with a tantalizing variety of analytic features, and are much cheaper. In some jurisdictions, the person being monitored must pay a daily fee instead of the justice agency purchasing the service. Ease of use is one of the aspects that most worries civil liberties groups and prison reformers about probation tracking apps. The companies marketing the apps, including BI Incorporated, Outreach Smartphone Monitoring, TrackTech, Telemate, and others, say the tools will lead to lower incarceration rates and replace stigmatizing and often physically painful ankle bracelets. We've built so many features in our technology to minimize technical violations. We would love to get people off the program as a successful participant and move on. In Virginia, Shadow Track is not replacing ankle bracelets. It is just a new kind of monitoring. And at the federal level, where U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement uses a SmartLink app created by BI Incorporated, the little data available suggests both methods are growing. There hasn't been a replacement for one or the other. It's just been a pretty constant expansion of both. Well, isn't that a surprise? Critics also argue that the data gathering and experimental predictive analytics incorporated into some tracking apps are bound to generate false positives that lead to arrests for technical violations of probation or parole conditions. The predictive stuff is really, really crazy, Gonzalez says. This is where we have to be thinking about worst-case scenarios. SmartLink, for example, interfaces with BI's Total Access software, which, according to the company's product brochure, uses predictive analytics to calculate a person's likelihood of absconding and what their travel patterns say about their access to risk locations. BI is a subsidiary of the private prison company GEO Group. Shadow Track, meanwhile, boasts that its voice recognition algorithms can also detect whether a person has been using alcohol or drugs. We have some proprietary software built in that can detect some slurs in speech and so forth that would just maybe warrant a follow-up. So here we have, not only are they going to have this emotion recognition technology in it, but they're going to be using more things than just what they see, because they'll be listening to voice patterns to determine whether or not you have been inebriated. And I guess my point is this technology, right? I always use the calculator as the example, right? The calculator was a wonderful invention, but you know what? Nobody can do long division anymore. It's the same thing when we talked about the AI that's being used to land and take off for aircraft. That's great. I'm very happy that we have that. However, in 10 years, I would not like to be in an airplane that has no pilots. Just has a guy named pilot. However, he has no idea how to manually fly an aircraft, just like none of us know how to do long division now. Technology becomes a crutch that we inevitably lean on and destroys us all. And when we start moving into this area where we're going to allow technology to determine that somebody has an emotional state, that emotional state is then warrant enough to detain that individual and accuse them of a crime. It's literally pre-crime. It's literally Minority Report, which is interesting because Minority Report actually had a lot of this in it. Let's look at a couple of videos that explain emotion recognition technology, and we'll look at that Minority Report clip too.
This is the future of advertising, as depicted in the blockbuster film Minority Report.
John Anderton, you could use a Guinness right about now.
Tom Cruise's character lives in 2054, but this future may be closer than you think. This man designed special software that can read your face and decipher your emotions.
Now you know it's Jennifer.
So read your face and decipher your emotions. May I humbly submit that that is a way for them to avoid saying it reads your mind.
Aniston, so you're smiling.
Companies like Procter & Gamble and Unilever are already using it for market research, testing what we really think of their products.
Discussed.
A recent report says computer science like this could go far beyond market research and become part of our everyday life just 5 years from now.
The technology is called emotion recognition software, and soon it'll be able to map your face in 3D, targeting 12 trigger areas like the corners of your eyes or your mouth. Thanks to super intelligent cameras installed in billboards, the software will then be able to offer up ads tailored to your interests and your mood.
An American study showed this interactive technology increased the attention of passers-by by 60% compared to regular ads. That's why Sony and Nokia have filed patents for this kind of software. And IBM is developing special billboards.
Do you hear it? Companies like Johnson & Johnson, Unilever, Sony, IBM, these companies being involved in this means that it's not going anywhere. We're not going to be able to get rid of it. It doesn't matter what laws we pass, it's already too late. And people like us, we need to already start wondering about how are we going to mitigate it.
The danger? Unwanted access to consumers' personal details.
Those billboards that were interacting with you on a level of starting to identify your ethnic group, your age, and maybe what mood you're in, that becomes a little intrusive.
So your eyes are going wider.
Oh, surprised. Oh, I'm mostly surprised.
It's an about-face for the marketing industry that may, or may not, come as a pleasant surprise for consumers. Poppy Trowbridge, Bloomberg, London.
Yeah, because that's so obvious that that would eventually may or may not. There's a 50-50. No, nobody is going to like that. This is a video at the Sochi Olympics where they were already using this emotion recognition technology. And you can see how it works. It grabs the face and then it assigns a number variable to each face and a color to that number variable, and then the person watching the facial recognition technology looking for people who are highly emotive, angry or nervous or whatever, they are pulled to the side, completely unaware that they were even being watched.
Do you like the candy?
And here's a visualization of emotion technology in while it's working. Something I'd like you to look at is it's not 90% accurate or 75% accurate in this example. As a matter of fact, it's pretty highly inaccurate. Now, the video itself is made by the company advertising it, so they freeze frame it on the emotion that they want. But if you watch constantly, it's not as accurate as they say.
Yeah, I do like candy, yeah.
Would you say it is a pleasant taste?
Yes, it's very sweet, but nice.
And would you buy this in a store?
I believe I would buy this in a store, yeah.
Do you like the coffee?
It's okay.
What do you think about its flavor?
It's a bit too bitter for my taste, I would say.
Is this something you want to buy?
No, I wouldn't buy this.
And I also pointed out to you just a second ago the big names that are involved, Johnson & Johnson, Unilever, Sony, etc. Well, let's look at what Bezos has going on.
As if Amazon didn't already know enough about you. Its facial recognition software can now sense fear. The e-commerce giant says the software called Recognition can identify 7 different emotions based on your expression, like happy, sad, angry, surprised, disgusted, calm, and confused. But Amazon has faced plenty of controversy over the software, especially for its use by law enforcement.
Okay, what's this one? What's this one? Recognition, what's this one?
Disgusted.
Disgusted.
Or sad. Fear. And you know what?
I don't love this.
And the fact that you're doing that right there shows, I mean, we are complex human beings. Why is it that these companies try to have us be like one-dimensional?
No, we're not
people?
too complex
If we're,
for a
if
facial
we're
recognition
smiling,
software to
if we're
figure it out.
smiling, that means we're happy. Not necessarily.
That's fair.
You.
And everyone's
Sure.
smile
I know
is
that.
different. Everyone's fear is different.
This is what these hosts are not understanding. They're actually thinking that somebody who's smiling but yet angry on the inside is going to be able to fool this technology. It just shows you how inept our reporters and anchors and news media is when it comes to technology like this. In fact, you're not going to be able to smile and fool this technology unless you have been trained on how to do it and are actively doing it, or unless you're a sociopath and you believe your own shit. Those are the only ways you're going to be able to fool this. The system is set up to look for the very small ticks in a person who's forcing a smile. And it's created to call that out. So no, they don't see us as one-dimensional. They're not trying to put us in a box. In fact, they're reading us all and putting us on a scale. So she couldn't be more wrong.
And it could be like a temporary fear, like someone just
Feel
scared you
you're
right
like,
now.
don't box me into one.
Exactly, into
By
one
the way,
emotion.
As
I
if
have
it isn't
multiple
already
emotions.
controversial enough with sort of shades of, too much government control, and Amazon got in some hot water when it sold the technology to law enforcement. As if
Right.
all that isn't enough. The spelling of it with the K,
I know.
I feel like only
I know, right?
strengthens that
What is up with that?
cognition.
Yeah.
It's-
You have to say it in that voice.
I mean, and the thing is, this software is also used by developers and Amazon's cloud business. So just think about the people who are working on this. That's probably why they think that name is hip.
I bring this up every time,
way.
and our producers are so sick of hearing about it. But every time I think of the scene in Minority Report, which is one of my favorite movies with Tom Cruise, where he's had his eyeballs replaced. He's gotten someone else's eyes, and he walks into a gap, and he's on the run.
Right.
And the sensors recognize him, and they say, "Mr. Yakamoto, welcome back to the Gap. How were those V-neck T-shirts you bought last time? Would you like some more?"
Let's hope we never get to that.
No, we are not so far from that happening.
No, let's not let that happen. I know.
Right scene, and now
They're clueless that we're there. We're already there.
it's going to become real. Philip K. Dick, a lot of what he wrote about will soon become real.
Red lights and constant rush hour traffic can turn any taxi ride into a nightmare. We asked Norway's largest taxi company to help us erase boredom in Oslo. With their surveillance cameras and our latest emotion recognition software, we can analyze.
Notice they say with their surveillance cameras, so surveillance cameras that were already present inside the taxi and our surveillance software. So again, I have to focus. The cameras are already there, guys. That's what's going to prevent people from being able to reject the technology, is it's just software. It's a problem.
The amount of time passengers were bored during their taxi ride. So we wanted to turn their boredom into happiness by erasing all the boring kilometers from their receipt and giving them that part of the money back. Please help us.
Oh, how beautiful. What an amazing company. They analyzed and gave the people money back for the time that they were bored. This is the same stupid okie doke the human race falls for over and over and over again. A stupid commercial doing a stupid thing that gives stupid people the warm fuzzies. They've got the music playing, and if they know that those people had a bored face 57% of the time, they also know what the other 43% of the time was your emotion. They were inside your mind. Enjoy your money back.
Mass surveillance craze. But there's a big problem. Welcome back to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Forget facial recognition, eye tracking, and crowd analysis. China's hottest new surveillance craze is emotion recognition. Emotion recognition. The thing all my ex-girlfriends wish I had. Here's how the computerized version works. The idea is that software algorithms can tell how you're feeling by analyzing real-time video of your face. For a long time, China's internal security has used facial recognition software that analyzes your facial dimensions, hair color, and skin color. And they've discovered that most crimes in China are committed by people with black hair. Yes. Arrest all the party officials. You'll have to wait till after the revolution. But soon, China's 200 million surveillance cameras could start recording and analyzing people's emotions to figure out if they're likely to commit a crime. If the system spots certain indicators, say you've had a bad day and you're scowling on your way home from the office, up goes a red flag and a possible police interception. The trouble is, experts say emotion recognition technology is actually pretty bogus. This recent study found that while facial expression recognition systems are up to 97% accurate in the lab, that accuracy rate drops to around 50% in the real world. But never mind that it's only right half the time.
And this is what I was talking about. Here comes this new technology. They start lying about all the benefits it's going to cause. They lie about how inaccurate it is. It gets put into the system, and before you know it, people are going to jail based off of it, and we haven't done the proper vetting on the technology. And people say this is because the technology is outpacing the law. Well, if that's the case, it's happening habitually, and we need to fix that. Because what's happening is that there are corporations, large entities that are able to do horrific things with this technology, and then it's walked back, and the little guy or the regular people are prevented from doing what these large corporations and governments had already done before the legislation came in to make things illegal. And you guys, listen, you can believe me or not, I don't care. But there will be a day very soon where every single taxi cab, every single Uber, every single Lyft will have a camera on the dash that it will be looking at your face to determine if you're making facial movements that could put somebody in danger. And they will also be monitoring the driver to see if he has road rage or whatever. You guys, it's coming. Get ready. So here is their reasoning on why that this program should be legalized, because they think that they can completely eliminate anger, sadness, and crying from the reason why people have car crashes. Drugs and alcohol, obviously they're not addressing that in this video, but in other articles they say, hey, we've got information that can tell if somebody's high or drunk. And it's more accurate than a police officer doing it. Like, that's saying something. Because I got news for you, police officers are horrible at it. Most of the tests that they do to determine if somebody's inebriated are pseudoscience at best.
We believe digital content and technology products are made better when they are informed by human emotions. At Affectiva, we quantify emotion to help the world accomplish this goal. We've built the most accurate automated facial coding system that exists today and can discern moment-by-moment emotional state using a webcam. This is the only neuroscience technique that can work online as participants emote in their natural.
So notice two things. Now the technology's on our webcam looking back at us as we're surfing the internet. And two, digital characters emote, okay? An emoticon emotes. People don't emote. Do you see how that happens? See how the terminology kind of just sneaks in there? That's transhumanism right there.
Any face, any place, any interface, in real time. Over the past 3 years, our software has processed more than 1 billion frames of face video of people watching advertisements and entertainment content in over 70 countries. This is the world's largest repository of emotional response to digital media.
So now you have this Affectiva company that has over 1 billion hours of recorded emotional reactions. And in a world that is data centric, like, understand that data, or data, however you want to say it, that is the currency of the time that we live in, right? Having raw data about the population of the earth is what everyone is out for. All the intelligence agencies, all the corporations. And here you have 1 billion hours of stored emotional reaction for them to access. This is a dangerous situation that we have coming over the horizon, you guys. And don't think that it's going to stop with webcams and cameras in cars and traffic light cameras, because it's going to be integrated into every single technology that you have. Watch this.
Personal communication robot that can read emotions with the ability to analyze people's expressions and voice tones. It is designed to live with humans. SoftBank started leasing of an enterprise model of the humanoid robot Pepper for Biz in October last year. Based on the consumer model of Pepper now being sold in Japan, Pepper for Biz is a model that comes with pre-installed applications for use by enterprises, including ones for office reception and approaching potential customers. Corporate users also benefit from the Pepper for Biz platform, a tool that stores information from customer approaches and other relevant information that can be utilized for marketing purposes. Pepper for Biz is offered at a monthly rental plan of $465. Also, Tokyo Metropolitan Industrial Technology Research Institute and Japanese robotics company Kokoro Company Limited is developing a humanoid robot with strong visual human likeness, looks, and behaves similar to a young woman. It is Actroid, developed with a concept to make it close to human beings as possible.
That's right, you guys. You didn't hear anything. That woman just referred to this individual as an act droid. So it's an actress, it's an act droid, and it is the type of droid that would be at the entrance of a building or the entrance of a business, ready to point people in the right direction, take messages, tell people where the emergency exits are, etc. They call them act droids.
Using the latest technology. Actroid has silicone skin, and just like humans, it has speech recognition software that can talk, make eye contact, and comprehend and accordingly respond to different tone and body language.
Alright, so not only do we have all this emotion recognition technology that's going to be plaguing us as we walk down the sidewalk, get in our car, surf the internet, even the cameras that we have in our households, but now all of a sudden we're seeing that the androids and the robots that are being created, which of course we all know are still at the infancy stage, are already being equipped with this emotion recognition technology. Because of course, if there's one thing that's more terrifying than having the government know your every emotion with an inability for you to hide it from them, the only way to make that worse is to give that ability to the blossoming robots and androids that are going to eventually kill us all. Unbelievable. But anyway, that's emotion recognition technology, and a little bit of a warning that it's right around the corner. I mean, it's not over the horizon, guys. It's already in your phone. That being said, guys, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. I don't get put into the suggested videos algorithms, so whatever you guys can do as far as help that way spread my message, it is enormous. If you would like to financially support the channel, all the ways to do so are in the pinned comment below. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Peace.